Welcome to Sign Up.
Welcome to another episode of Sign Up. This month we're in Nottingham to meet Forest striker Chris Wood.
We'll also be meeting some Deaf Forest fans. They'll be telling us about their memories and experiences. And of course, we'll be rounding up all the latest from the Premier League and the Champions League.
To start the show, we meet Forest striker Chris Wood, who last season scored a fantastic 20 goals. Thanks for joining us, Chris. Welcome to Sign Up.
Thank you for having me.
The traditional role of a number 9 seems to have faded away over the years. You couldn't stop scoring last season. Have you brought this role back into fashion?
Yeah, I'd like to think I've had a helping hand. I think Erling's probably had a bigger hand in that since he's stepped back into the Premier League, or stepped into the Premier League and doing so well as a number 9. And yeah, just trying to bring back what was very fashionable back when I was coming through as a youngster.
So who did you look up to when you were younger as a number 9?
The two biggest ones were Didier Drogba and Alan Shearer, both pure number 9s and goal-scoring talents. So yeah.
So Alan Shearer, Drogba, what do you think you learned from their games?
Mostly how to put the ball in the back of the net, trying to emulate what they do because they were extremely good at it. And then just making sure to try and be a complete player, both holding the ball up for the team and then delivering chances or scoring the chances when supplied.
So you must practice shooting quite a lot. What do you focus on in terms of training for your finishing, penalties? What is it that you mainly focus on?
Just finishing in general, making sure I always hit the target, I think is the best one. Gives yourself a chance to score. Not being too precise, but being precise enough, if that kind of makes sense. It's a bit of a weird one, but I don't need to put it in the bottom corner every single time. Sometimes you can just play it past the keeper in certain aspects. So yeah, it's probably more just an instinct of trying to find the target first and then being a bit more precise as we go along.
So you grew up in New Zealand. What was that like? You know, what were your early football memories?
Footballing memories from New Zealand are more from my dad. He played football, so I watched him growing up. As probably everybody knows, rugby's a big nation out there. It's been the best in the world for a considerable amount of time, although we're falling off to South Africa at the moment. But that's what you grow up watching and loving, and I love that as a sport. But it was my dad's influence of football that made me want to play, and I just wanted to be like him, and then football just took over my life.
Well, you definitely got the build for rugby. So what position would you have played?
I liked centre, second 5, or probably on the flank. One of those two would have been one of the keys that I played at.
So you moved to England. How did that come about?
One of my coaches back in New Zealand, Roger Wilkinson, he knew Dan Ashworth, which was academy manager at West Brom, and they were lucky enough to just organise a trial for me to come over. Came over for a couple of weeks and done all right, and then they signed me on the scholarship program over here, which was fantastic and a start of this big journey that I've been on.
And how old were you then when you signed?
I was over on my trial when I was 15 and then signed permanently at 16.
That must have been a big adjustment, adapting here.
Yeah, it was an adjustment. My mother's English, so I think it was a bit easier. She moved over with me in the beginning, and then my dad followed, and my sister was at university at the time, so she stayed back in New Zealand. So I think having my parents there really helped me adapt into English life and made it easier to settle into football over here.
So you're at West Brom, you were loaned out,
on 5 separate occasions. And then you went to Leicester, where you were loaned out again. You know, you must have been all over the place. You know, how did you cope with that?
Look, I think I was a firm believer I wasn't going to play in the West Brom first team. We had just been promoted to the Premiership, and they needed experienced strikers, especially when they're trying to be consistent in the Premier League. I was 18, 19. They're not really going to call on a youngster that much to lead the line. So I had to go and play my football elsewhere and apply my trade. And the best way I believed and what the people around me believed was doing loans. And I truly believe that's why I've got to where I have. Being able to experience those different leagues, understanding men's football in a game when I was so young, and just trying to get better as the season's progressed.
Thank you so much for meeting us today.
Thank you very much.
Joe, nice to meet you. Good. How are you, bud? You all right?
We're now joined by Joe Hart, 2-time Premier League winner. Thank you for joining us today. Joe, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Just in the interview with Chris Wood, Nottingham Forest, new gaffer has been appointed in Ange Postecoglou. His first 7 games without a win. What do you think is going to happen going forward?
Oh, it's never nice to talk about. This is the one bit of my job that I don't love. You know, we have to talk about and speculate people's job. When I was a player, it was just about the next game. Look, it's a difficult situation. He knew what he was signing up for. You know, he knew Mr. Marinakis, he knew how he worked. It sounded like they had a relationship. So look, like any manager, he'll be head down, hard work, hopefully using these 2 weeks to just get his players used to him, and looking to move on after the international break.
Chris Wood flourished under Nuno. Obviously, we've got Ange there now. Do you think he's going to fit in just as well under Ange's team?
It will take a little bit of time. Chris Wood was so important under Nuno. You know, he really fitted into the club. He was absolutely excellent. You know, one of the top scorers in the Premier League. I actually worked with Chris Wood when I was at Burnley, and he's a really good finisher. And I'm really pleased for him. You know, he got that move to Newcastle. It didn't quite work out how he wanted it to, but look, good players work in any system, and Chris Wood will back himself.
So we spoke to Chris Wood, linked to the number 9 role and how that's evolved in recent times. You know, the old-fashioned number 9's coming back into the fold. What do you take on that?
That would have been my favourite position when I was growing up. If I wasn't a goalkeeper, oh my goodness me, I'd love to have been a number 9, powerful. That's everything that I love about the game, the good sort of goals scored. And Chris Wood really fits into it. Erling Haaland, you know, even Rasmus Højlund, he's showing what he can do more at Napoli. Gyökeres coming over, definitely a trend. Football moves, it's fluid, and I'm really pleased to see it personally.
Who would you say was the best number 9 you played against as a goalkeeper?
Obviously, I'm from the Messi and Ronaldo era, but they were both playing on the wings. So if you want me to give the number 9, my favourite was Didier Drogba. I absolutely loved him. Like I say, if I could be a striker, that's who I'd be. When he came over to Chelsea playing under Jose Mourinho, the goals he scored, the power, the pace, the hold-up play, brilliant player.
Looking at the Premier League, who would you say is the best number 9 there at the moment?
Oh, Haaland all day.
Why is he so special?
I honestly don't know. But do you know what I do love about him? He's an incredible professional. He seems like a really humble, likeable person. But when he gets on the pitch, he's just got that kind of killer instinct in him. He's strong, he uses all his strength. He's not afraid to be a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. He's not afraid to go without the ball. He just knows that when it comes business time, that's his opportunity to show what he can do. And he does it so well. I'm so pleased. I love watching him play. I love watching him smile. I love the team revolving around him.
Let's talk about the Premier League. Liverpool have been on good form. They seem to have slipped slightly. Arsenal are back up there. Do you think it's going to be the same challenges as last year?
It's hard, you know. You saw how Liverpool recruited in the summer, having had such an excellent season last season. You know, probably going above and beyond what they expected with Arne Slot coming in. You know, they've had a difficult week, no doubt about it. And Arsenal look really strong, recruited really well. Manchester City are always going to be there with the likes of Erling Haaland performing how they do. I think we've got a really exciting Premier League season ahead of us, and it's not going to be as obvious as it was last year. Many people have got a really good chance.
So Liverpool have been on a slightly bad run. What does Slot need to do? How do you think they can pick things up going forward?
So signing so many good players and important players, I think Florian Wirtz is the most important one. You can't just, he played for Bayer Leverkusen, he was a boyhood player there, and for many seasons he was at his best because the whole team flowed through him. They understood his qualities, they understood what made their team tick. So he just needs a little bit of time, so he just needs to manage him as best he can. There's no doubt his quality. They wouldn't have signed him otherwise, he's a brilliant player. But he just needs to bed him in and keep working him, maybe giving him minutes here, giving him minutes there. And once that flows there, I think he'll be a really dangerous player. So in the meantime, he's probably better off going back to what he had last season, being solid, getting the best out of Mo Salah, using Ekitike, using Isak, and I'm sure they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Your old team, Man City, have a mention. They're creeping up there. Obviously, Pep, Haaland, you can't write them off. They're always in the mix. Do you think you'll be fighting towards the end?
I think so. I always think so, though. So maybe I have that kind of. I lose all sense when it comes to Manchester City a little bit. But they've got an incredible squad. Rodri getting injured recently will be difficult. Hopefully that's not too bad. He's proved to be so important. But they can keep Haaland fit. Jeremy Doku's really come into it this season. Donnarumma's been an excellent signing, of course. You need John Stones fit, you need Rodri fit, Mamouche coming back. There's all these good reasons why they should compete, but there's no getting away from it. They're not quite the team they were a few years ago, but they're trying to rebuild.
Yeah, they just need a bit of time. It's obviously a new team with all these new signings. Now to talk about Palace.
Yes.
I'm sure you're quite disappointed that you lost at the weekend. Your 19-game unbeaten run is over.
I think the way we play is just fantastic, but my big concern is just the lack of depth. We've got Europe. If our key players do get injured, that's a massive risk to the team. I want to see your opinion, Joe. Do you think we can continue that form?
It was so obvious in the game against Everton. I honestly watched the game and they were brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Probably 60 minutes. 2 huge chances for Mateta. Everton were really struggling. The stadium was starting to turn, scored a good goal. But it's so difficult playing on the Thursday and then coming back to the Sunday. They're more than capable of it, but they rely on everyone being at the peak of their powers, peak of their fitness, and you just felt a little bit of tiredness. But honestly, don't worry. You're just the guys are going to learn it through the season. It's going to become more important that the fringe players know that they're going to have a role after maybe 60 minutes, maybe 70 minutes. They're just going to get that rhythm again because they got in such a great rhythm last season, playing 1 game a week. Now they just had to be, Glasner's an excellent coach. They'll talk about it, they'll work on it. I'm sure the fans will stay with them and I think they'll have a really good season.
Fingers crossed.
Have faith, Rolf, have faith. We know the Premier League is brutal. We've already had 2 managers sacked this season. Nuno at Nottingham Forest and Graham Potter at West Ham. Do you think Nuno is a good fit at West Ham?
Ironically, I think Nuno's a better appointment to come in mid-season than what Nottingham Forest have made because he'll make them solid. He knows what he wants. He'll be very hard. I've experienced a little bit of time with him. My time wasn't great with him, but it's not about me. I know that he's a good coach. I know that it will bring stability. And West Ham have got some really good forward players. So if he can organise the defence how he does, he needs everyone on side at West Ham. That's key. You need everyone believing in what he's doing. But I think he can bring some stability there, yeah.
So Graham Potter was sacked at West Ham after 5 games played. That was it. I mean, last year, he was considered for the England manager role. It's amazing how much can change in a year. What do you think's happened? Is it something West Ham? Is it Graham Potter?
It's football. Football's become a whole lot more ruthless. And I think during my career, especially the first start of my career, if someone lost their job, that was huge. It would haunt them for a long time, maybe 2-3 years. They wouldn't necessarily get picked for other jobs. But I think now the merry-go-round goes. It goes on, People lose their jobs. I think Ange and Nuno are a great example. Both left their clubs, and within a couple of weeks, Nuno a day, Ange a couple of months, both getting good jobs in the Premier League. So I think we're just going to get used to this more kind of fluid interaction between managers and probably having to check which badge they're wearing.
Now let's talk about England goalkeepers. Jordan Pickford's been #1 since 2017, took over from you.
Yep.
Do you think he'll still be #1 for the World Cup next year?
He's put himself in a great position. I think he's performed well for Everton. I think it concerns Thomas Tuchel that Everton aren't fighting on European fronts. And you know what? If he wasn't performing as well as he was, I think it would be a difficult position. But he's been excellent, absolutely excellent, faultless for England. He's taken them to places, you know, I personally couldn't take them, took them to the latter end of all the tournaments that he's played in. He's performed consistently well for Everton. I think Dean Henderson's having an excellent season, excellent couple of seasons. He's found his home at at Crystal Palace, winning the FA Cup, performing well, playing in Europe. James Trafford was a great opportunity for him going back to Manchester City, but you know that the signing of Donnarumma is going to make it difficult for him to get regular minutes. But you look at Nick Pope, there's Aaron Ramsdale. There's a really good pool of English goalkeepers, but Jordan Pickford well and truly deserves to have the gloves for now. A lot can change in a season, as we just previously talked about. Football's so fluid, but if he keeps his form and earns the trust of Thomas Tuchel, like I know he is, I don't think he's let a goal in for him yet. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was, but also I know how football works.
Now it's time for something a little bit different. We'll be watching a conversation in the beautiful language that is BSL. Don't worry, the sound is working. There's no voiceover for this clip.
3 deaf Forest fans met up at the Boot Room, a stone's throw from the City ground, to discuss their favourite Nottingham Forest memories and what it's like being a deaf fan.
Yeah. All right. Got you. That I'm there. There. From. Đó. Đấy. Đấy. Đâu đó. Đấy. Nè. Đó. Đây. Nghe không? Rồi. Em dạ dạ mà dạ dạ
That was just fantastic to see. We love that conversation.
Still annoyed that Forest got through into Europe?
I mean, Crystal Palace are looking really good. Where are Forest? Champions League. We've had 2 match days so far. Think about the new format. Do you think there's less jeopardy for these big teams getting knocked out? I mean, look at last season. PSG started horrendously and ended up winning the competition. What are you thinking? You know, are the first few results even that important?
I think you're building into the season and you play to the rules, right? PSG didn't break any rules. They just played and built in slowly, and they bought the most important time of the season. You need to build that foundation, and then from March onwards, that's when you reap your rewards of the hard work that you've put in. But there's no getting away from it. It's going to be tough to be good every single game, with there being extra matches, travelling around Europe. It's a good format. I'm enjoying watching it because there's so much variety. But I think as a team, you can afford to just be a little bit calmer on match day 1, 2, 3. But there's no getting away from it. Every single team will be playing to win.
It's still early days, but who's caught your eye so far?
Arsenal. I think Arsenal have been excellent. They look like they really know how to get a result. I know. I know what you're saying. Real Madrid under Xavi Alonso. I think it's a really exciting new dawn. Mbappe's just been unbelievable, hasn't he? The goals that he's scoring. Look, there's some excellent teams out there, isn't it? Napoli, Kevin De Bruyne, Rasmus Højlund. Conte needs a big season in Europe. There's so much going on, so many different stories. Even if you look at Karabag starting so well, you know, a couple more good results and they could find themselves in that top 24.
9 English teams in 3 different competitions across Europe. Which of these teams do you think has a really good opportunity to win some silverware?
I think I will get there. I promise you I'll get there. I promise. No, we'll start there. I think Palace will be one of the, if not strongest team in that Europa Conference League. If they can keep everyone fit like we talked about, need to use their squad. At some point they're going to have to make a decision whether they're going to pursue the Premier League or they're going to pursue Europe. But if they can get some good early results, get that qualification in the bag, then they can concentrate on the busy period over Christmas and then look to hopefully have some fun from February onwards. Aston Villa, I think Emery's doing a really good job. Started difficult, not scoring any goals, but winning their last 4 games. Playing Marlon up front over the weekend just gone looked like a really good ally for Ollie Watkins. I was really excited to see them play together. And I think Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, definite threats. I think if you went around Europe and asked about the Champions League, those 3 names will be talked about. So yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting season. I think, like I say, come February, March, April, we're still going to have a good few teams in competitions.
So, Dembele recently won the Ballon d'Or, Best Player in the World award. Which player are you really enjoying watching at present, though?
Dembele's obviously fully deserved it. That Champions League team that they created. And I think if they'd have won the World Club Championships as well, it would have been absolutely nailed on. But Chelsea, fair play to them, they had a good summer. But I think the likes of Lamine Yamal, I think he's electric. Absolutely, 18 years old is he? Absolute brilliant player. Plays with a smile on his face. I think the world's doing its best to hate him, which is just how the world works. But internally, I think he's a brilliant player. Really excited to see what he can achieve. I've always loved Kylian Mbappe. He got a lot of flack making his move from Monaco to PSG, but he's a World Cup champion. And I think he's going to be a real threat at Real Madrid. I know how big a move that is to go to Real Madrid, but he looks like he's really thriving there. So I'm excited to see the goals that he's going to score this season.
And goalkeepers, who are you enjoying watching in Europe at the moment?
Obviously, I'm a big fan of Donnarumma. I played against him and had my eye on him. He was 16 when he played for AC Milan. That's such incredible. He made himself the #1 at that age. You feel like he's been around forever, but he's only 26. But he's had 10 years of first-team football. Top goalkeeper. I always enjoy watching Alisson at Liverpool. I think he's an excellent goalkeeper. But around the world, Courtois will always be one of my favourites. I love him, and he's actually a far more fashionable goalkeeper than he probably was 5 years ago. Excellent shot stopper. Won his team the Champions League the season before last. Manuel Neuer, we're not going to get to enjoy him for much longer. So, a top goalkeeper. I spoke to Vincent Kompany actually, and I said, is he as good as he comes across? And he says he's just absolutely amazing. So, hopefully, I'll be going over to Munich to see him in the flesh.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's been fantastic having you on the programme.
No, thanks for having me, guys.
And thank you for watching.
Remember, you can watch all our interviews and features on YouTube. See you next month.
Bye.
Bye.